What's going on, boys? Today I'm bringing you a little preview / my prediction for Nate Diaz versus Jake Paul. It's happening this weekend. It's literally happening tomorrow night. By the time you're watching this, probably the weigh-ins have all been done, so God knows what's gone on in the weigh-ins and like a public press conference, if one even happens, because we all know what Nate Diaz is like when it comes to like doing press conferences and stuff like that. Wow, you see that? At least that's something that we could maybe see in the boxing ring. The straight left hand, the 1-2 combination, the jab and the left hand. See, he's pointing at him, and that's what I'm excited for in this fight, man. That's gonna be a big thing. Can Jake Paul handle the mind games of Nate Diaz? Because it's different, man. When you're in there with another influencer, you know, Jake Paul's the Mac Daddy, man. Jake Paul's the Mac Daddy, you know. I'm not a huge Jake Paul fan, but you have to give it to the guy, man. He is the pinnacle. He's at the top right now, along with KSI and Logan. You know, he can really give it as well. All the trash talk and stuff. But when you do with Nate Diaz, it's different. You can't trash talk Nate Diaz. Whatever Diaz wants is what happens, you know. You've seen him walk out of press conferences before, even with the face-off with Jake Paul, man. He just was, I'm out. He just showed up and he's gone, mate. If Diaz can catch Jake Paul, he's gonna let Jake Paul bloody know about it, mate. That's what's gonna happen. Yeah, you can see him hitting the 1-2 and pointing as he runs away. If he catches Jake Paul, he's, you know, gone that more boxing style approach, just sort of, you know, walking forward, really planting the feet. So that's something I suppose you can say that we can sort of get an idea of is his sort of his footwork, right? As he's walking forward here, you can see it's very like planted. His footwork's planted, you know. Every time he's gonna go and engage, his footwork planted. We can see here a nice combo from Nate Diaz. Comes over with the left and with the right, and it's just high pressure. It's high pressure, and he comes back again there, waits off, fires up. And they're the type of situations that Jake Paul's going to find himself in. You know, them guys are close teeing off because the way this fight, you know, Nate Diaz isn't going to put the pressure on Jake Paul. You know, Jake Paul's going to be the one walking forward, in my opinion. You know, Jake Paul's going to try and meet Diaz in the center of the ring. And when they go in close, that'll be the time when Nate Diaz can really get some offense off, is in these tight exchanges here, because his jiu-jitsu is so good and his judo is so good that he's used to fighting in the clinch like that, because of all the MMA, you know. So when they're close up together, it's going to be a real comfort zone for Nate Diaz. That's a nice 1-2 there from Nate Diaz. You can see him here. Just stood 1-2, yeah, it comes out. Doesn't really connect too well. People think he's going to walk through Nate Diaz. I don't think that's the case. Because although Nate Diaz is more known for his jiu-jitsu and his MMA and his grappling work, he still can punch, you know. He was piecing up Conor McGregor. I know that was a long time ago, but he's still got that fundamental sort of boxing ability. He can still throw a jab, you know. And the jab is the best weapon in boxing. So if you can throw a jab and you can keep composed, you know, it's your favor. The odds significantly move into your favor. And I know it's different when two boxers are fighting each other, but he's got the jab there. He's got fundamental, you know, he's got fundamental boxing experience. Because if you put Tyron Woodley and Nate Diaz in a boxing match, you're taking Nate Diaz every day of the week. You can see him get caught there, and the head movement. That's where Nate Diaz is really going to struggle with the head movement. Is, you know, he doesn't really tend to move his head too well. You know, he's just getting caught up there. He's not moving it off the center line quick enough. And Jake Paul's quick, man, so it's going to be hard for him. It's really going to be hard for him. Jake Paul can easily catch him when he's trying to slip out of the way of those punches. That's the thing, man. He's got an unbelievable jab and looping cross that comes over the top, man. That's a real weapon that Jake Paul does need to look out for. 100%. The way that it throws it just comes, bow, straight there. It's almost like a looping jab, right? It's you know, it's as quick as a jab, but it comes from the side of him, so it's almost like a hybrid jab sort of jab hook sort of thing, like hybrid between the both of them. Nice little combo there as well from Nate Diaz. And this is the type of stuff that you're just gonna see, man. You're just walking away, man. He's just done with the fight for now. He's gonna take a little rest, walk around the octagon for a bit, take a little breather. And this is, do you know what? I actually wouldn't put it past Nate Diaz to pull something like this against Jake Paul, just to prove a point. But he's there for the paycheck, man. He is not interested in Jake Paul whatsoever. There's no real bad animosity there. He's just there for the paycheck, man. And he doesn't like Jake Paul. He can't be bothered. So he's just like, nah, man. Yeah. Swear, you see there, nice swings, and he's missing. They're just kind of, they're not really hitting a target. He's just throwing him out there. And that type of stuff, man. If he's throwing him out there just like that, yeah, man. If he does that against Jake Paul, Jake Paul will just hit him straight back on a counter attack. He does not want to be throwing punches. He does not want to be throwing punches like that against Jake Paul, because that's not going to go well for him if he's doing that. All right, here we go. Now on to Jake Paul's last fight versus Tommy Fury. It was a good performance by him, man. He didn't win. He kind of got banged up a little bit. Tommy Fury did kind of walk him around the ring. But there's still some bits we saw in there. You know, the fundamental jab was still there. You know, it was hard for him. And Nate Diaz is going to be a significantly easier fight than Tommy Fury is going to be. Like, way easier. I feel like as soon as the fight started, the way that Tommy Fury came out, he was just in over his head straight away. He's not used to sort of being pushed back on that back foot. And, you know, Tommy Fury was going to come at him with everything he's got. So Jake Paul wasn't ready for it. Oh, that's a nice overhand right there from Jake Paul, at least. You know, threw something there. And you can't really see the referee walked in the middle of the way. But that's going to be Jake Paul's main weapon, is that overhand right. And especially what we saw earlier with being in the clinch and you know, Nate Diaz punches sort of slowly coming out from the side of him. Jake Paul's going to clock onto that. You know, he's young, he's fresh, he's athletic. He's going to be able to move out of the way. And that overhand right is really, really going to have to... you know, Nate Diaz is really going to have to watch out for that when he's exchanging, and watch out for it, because Jake Paul is going to be loading it up all night. I can bet my money on it. Jake Paul is going to be looking for that overhand right. The whole fight from the first round, he's going to be looking to land that overhand right in those exchanges with Nate Diaz. Yeah, you see it there. He's covering up very well, but this is the thing, man. Tommy Fury's unleashing all those punches, but Nate Diaz isn't going to be able to do that to him. Nate Diaz isn't going to be able to run forward and unleash, you know, like a 4-punch combo and feel fine after it. You know, he's an older man now. You know, he's nearly 40 years old. Tommy Fury's, you know, like a 23-year-old lad. You know, he's ready. He's in there and athletic, and you know, Jake Paul really does cover up well. So, you know, when Nate Diaz is throwing those slower punches against him, he's going to be able to move out the way very well. And even now, even in this exchange here, he's still throwing back. He's you know, Tommy Fury's coming forward, pushing him on the back foot. Bow, you see that left hook? That left overhand, it comes over. Just literally merely misses, and I bet you if that lands, you know, that's a big punch for him. You know, Tommy Fury would definitely have felt that. But that's the thing, you know, against Tommy Fury, those kind of punches aren't going to land. He's too quick to move his head out of the way. But against Nate Diaz, as we saw earlier with the head movement, it's going to be a long night for him if that catches him. He's going to have to really watch out about that. Jake Paul could easily land that overhand left in those exchanges with Nate Diaz. Yeah, you can see him covering up quite well. His eyes are open, looking for it, and it just misses. There we go, against the body. Is this man, Jake Paul? You know, he was there. Tommy Fury was just too quick. But against a slower opponent that isn't used to the way that a boxing ring works, he's gonna land a couple more punches than he landed in this fight. That's for sure. With the body, Tommy Fury is just so quick to step back and move out the way. Diaz won't be able to move out the way as quickly as that. And, you know, Tommy Fury's jab is quicker. You know, Jake Paul is still, you know, just, you know, inches and seconds away. And then the head movement there is good against a really quick jab by Tommy Fury. You know, the head's off the center line there, comes over, swinging over with that right hand. This is literally, I can see this exact thing playing out in the Tommy Fury, in the, Jake Paul, Nathan Diaz fight. I can see the same thing happening. He'll be there, he'll be waiting. You know, he's there. Bow, overhand. The overhand is there. Against Nate Diaz, you know, he's not going to be able to move out of the way as quickly as Tommy Fury. So I can see that. Happening. I can see Jake Paul landing that. Really, really nice left hook from Jake Paul. And that's the type of stuff that he's going to be able to land against Nate Diaz, is that counter-attack. Those counter-attack hooks and that counter-attack straight. It's going to happen because Nate Diaz is too slow to move off the center line and to move out of harm's way. Yeah, you can see him reaching for it again, that left overhand. The left hook, sorry. Yeah, that left hook, that left counter hook. And I wouldn't be surprised if he tries something similar than that against Nate Diaz, because he had so much success nearly against Tommy Fury with it. And of course, Tommy Fury is faster, quicker, more athletic than Nate Diaz, so he's able to move out of the way. But against somebody slower who ultimately, let's be real, doesn't really care about the outcome of the fight for Nate Diaz. He doesn't really care whether he wins or loses. He's not going to be fighting with his full heart anyway. Not that I'm making excuses, but you know, it's going to be easier for him to land against Nate Diaz than it is to land it against Tommy Fury. And from this angle, it doesn't look like he caught him, but maybe he just sort of grazed him a little bit. And you can see him he's giving a showboating back, man. It's going to be a good showboating fight because Nate Diaz is going to, you know what, Nate Diaz, there is another nice jab there. And don't get it twisted, man. If Jake Paul is quick enough to catch Tommy Fury with a jab or a hook, he's certainly quick enough to catch Nate Diaz with 2 hooks or a double jab, you know. So there's another jab there, another nice jab. That will be the main weapon for Jake Paul in this fight with Nate Diaz. The jab will be his main weapon. He's going to have to really utilize the jab, and he'll be able to as well because Nate Diaz isn't going to be able to move out the way as quickly as Tommy Fury is. And the jab's good, man. You know, say what you want, he's got a nice jab, and he was exchanging jabs with Tommy Fury. You know, again, there's another nice lead hook there as well. Yeah, when Tommy Fury steps in, he it's the same thing that happened earlier as well in a fight. It's the same thing. Tommy Fury steps in. Jake Paul sort of lures him in, and then he's ready to throw that left straight away. Yeah, see that looping overhand as well. That's the type of thing, man. In these close exchanges, it's going to be nice, man, because Nate Diaz is used to being sort of that close, and Jake Paul's got them power shots up close. So, yeah, that right overhand there. If he catches Nate Diaz with that, it's going to be a long day because they're a lot closer in weight than Tommy Fury and Jake Paul anyway. Tommy Fury is way naturally bigger than Nate Diaz. Yeah, and these close exchanges as well. He's getting his head off the center line. Tommy Fury is just, really, really quick. Nate Diaz isn't going to be able to be as quick as that. There goes another left hand, man. Every time he's always looking to throw back a counter, which if he's going to plan to do that against Nate Diaz, he's going to find more success, that's for sure. That's a nice combo there, yeah, as well. It's a nice combo. Right to the body, left hook. Yeah, they're the type of things he's going to be able to catch Nate Diaz with as well. But Nate Diaz has got a chin on him, man. It takes a lot to knock him out. But Jake Paul can hit hard as well. We see him absolutely flatline Tyron Woodley. That's going to be a weapon that Nate Diaz definitely has to look out for, is that overhand right. There's a nice jab from Jake Paul as well there. It's that overhand he just misses as well. But that's the thing, man. If he misses this overhand, that's what opened up. That's what opened up the opportunity for Tommy Fury. But the thing is with Nate Diaz, if Jake Paul misses that overhand right, Nate Diaz is not going to be quick enough to bang the pressure on straight away. He's not going to do it. And even if he is quick enough, he'd rather, taunt him anyway. So that's a very nice, very, very nice counter hook there. And that's the thing, man. Nate Diaz, if he throws out that jab, yeah, that's a very nice left hook. Probably the biggest shot to fight that for Jake Paul. Very, very nice left hook for Jake Paul there. Yeah. These are the things, man, in these tight exchanges. That's what's going to make it such an entertaining fight. More entertaining than people realise, man. More entertaining than people want to give credit for. I definitely think it's going to be an entertaining fight. Because of those close exchanges we saw in the Tommy Fury fight, every time they sort of got closer together, Jake Paul's looking to throw the counter attack. And Nate Diaz's fighting style, when he's close, he's always going to try and unload. Nate Diaz isn't really going to try and throw a jab out just at that sweet spot of distance. He wants to get up close, man. He wants to get close to you and rough it up. That's what's gonna make it such a nice fight. And when Nate Diaz, he's I don't know the best way to put this, but he's a troll, man. He's gonna get in that ring and try and make it as ugly and as dirty as possible and as uncomfortable for Jake Paul as possible. Which always will favour Nate Diaz, but as we saw in the Tommy Fury fight, Jake Paul really can hit on a counter attack. So it's one of those things Nate Diaz really has to look out for. The main strengths for Jake Paul is, of course, he's younger, he's more athletic, he's quicker, and his power as well. He throws that jab really quickly, and the overhand right, there's a reason he flatlined Tyron Woodley with it, knockout clean. He's got power, so Nate Diaz really is going to have to look out for that. I feel like Nate Diaz's main strength, obviously, is endurance. The longer the fight goes, the more you want to favour Nate Diaz, just because, he can fight 24/7 if he has to. It's in his blood, it's what he does. And when the fight gets closer, when the two of them are close in the ring, in the center of the ring, or if Nate Diaz is up against the ropes, he makes it ugly, man. He's able to fight in really sort of close quarters, which I feel like he could really try and apply that onto Jake. Really get up close to him, get nice and dirty with him in sort of in the clinch as well. Nice dirty boxing is what he's used to with his jiu-jitsu. He's used to being in that clinch. It's a comfortable position for him. That's what I feel like is going to happen. I feel like Nate Diaz is just going to try and be as comfortable in there as possible. or he's not going to care whatsoever. And they're the two extremes, I don't think he'll meet in the middle. I feel like it'll be one of two ways. In my opinion, I don't think we're going to see a Nate Diaz that really wants to win the fight. He's just going to fight for the fun of it. If he wins, it's a bonus. But if he loses, I don't think he's really going to be too bothered about that. Jake Paul's obviously going to go in there to win. And he, in my opinion, my prediction is Jake Paul is going to win this fight pretty easily as well. I think it'll be closer than more people think. But that's my opinion. I feel like Jake Paul is probably going to win this fight very easily as well. But he's not going to steamroll Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz is definitely going to give him a couple punches or two. Nate Diaz, he doesn't care if he wins or loses. He just wants to do damage, and I feel like he will do some sort of damage to Jake Paul. Do I see it going to full? Is it 8 rounds? I think it's 8 rounds. Do I see it going to full distance? It's hard to say. Nate Diaz has got a chin, but Jake Paul does have the power to knock him out. And it depends how much Nate Diaz wants it. If it's the way I think it's going to go, I don't think it's going to go the full length of the fight. I feel like Nate Diaz will just try and get out of there. No, I'm not saying he's going to take a dive, but I don't feel like Nate Diaz will really want to be there too much. I think Jake Paul is going to win this fight.